Good morning. Good morning and very welcome. I'm Kjell Asplund. I'm chair of Smer, the Swedish Council on Medical Ethics. Each year, the Council arranges a public day of ethics on a key ethical problem. This year, we have chosen autonomy, physician-assisted dying, and good care at the end of life as the topic. This is not the first time. Some 10 years ago, Smer was strongly involved in questions concerning end-of-life issues. Intense discussions among the Smer members, intense public debate. So in 2008, the theme of the Day of Ethics was also about autonomy at the end of life. There was no consensus at that time within Smer, but a majority decided to write to the government to formally request a governmental investigation. This was in 2008 then. No response to the request. So what has happened since then? In the last 8 years, to be frank, Smer has been much more preoccupied with issues concerning the beginning of life than the end of life. But it cannot have escaped anyone that there is now renewed, intensified public interest in these questions. The prospect and the possible limitations of palliative care, but also the place of autonomy and physician-assisted dying. When the Minister of Health and Welfare earlier this year got a request, an interpellation in the Parliament, asking the government to initiate an investigation on end-of-life decisions, he said no investigation, but he added, and I quote, "We have Smer used to work with this kind of problems. I'm looking forward to their taking up this question again." So here we are. This is what we are doing today. We have decided to focus the Smer activities on the hottest of the end-of-life topics in the Swedish debate, physician-assisted dying. This means that we have not set aside specific time today to discuss terminal sedation or to discuss euthanasia at large. So what can Smer contribute with? Many of the divergences are value-based. The value-based arguments are well known by now, but many arguments also stem from different views on what the facts actually are. So we thought that this is where Smer could have a role to play in the public debate. Our program today will start with lessons from Canada, a country that has recently permitted suicide-assisted dying as a result of a legal process. And what are the actual experiences in states where physician-assisted suicide or physician-assisted dying has been permitted for a number of years? Professor Anthony Back will discuss the experiences from the US. We will then have comments from a Swedish perspective, legal, human rights, and Daniel Tarschys, former chair of Smer. Where are you? A special welcome to you. We'll discuss how important it is that we are using the correct terminology when we discuss these sensitive matters. We have, in today's program, used the term physician-assisted dying, and is this right or wrong? Daniel will elucidate this. So this is the morning session. It will be held in English. And then after lunch, we will change both language and focus. We will turn into Swedish to Swedish settings. There are countries where palliative care and physician-assisted dying are regarded as complementary. This is not so in the Swedish debate. Much of the focus has been on the possibilities, the prospects that palliative care has to offer to reduce the need of any kind of physician-assisted dying. But the debate has also been about the limitations of palliative care. This afternoon we will get insights from 3 leading experts in the field. And between these sessions that we will hear different perspectives. What are the attitudes towards physician-assisted dying among Swedish citizens? How do representatives from patient organizations reflect on these arduous matters? And we will hear one of the leading voices in the public debate asking, why are we disempowered at the end of life? And then we will end with a short panel discussion with 4 politicians, all present or former members of Smer. Many of you in the audience have been extensively involved in the public debate on end-of-life issues. As you will see from the program, we have devoted quite a lot of time for questions and comments, especially after the contributions from Canada and the US. Although many of you have not been invited to this podium, we feel sure that many voices will be heard throughout this day. And you may ask, what will come out of this day? And to be perfectly honest, we are not sure. One of the commitments of Smer is to be advisory to the government, to the parliament. But at this moment, I very much doubt that we are ready for providing straightforward advice based on consensus in Smer. But another essential task in our statutes is that Smer should stimulate public discussions on key ethical issues in healthcare. I'm sure that this day will serve this particular purpose. And at the end of the day, we will have more facts on the table. Tomorrow, Smer will have a day-long committee meeting, and one of the items on the agenda will be what we will learn from this year's Day of Ethics, what actions can Smer now take. We expect Smer to be a key forum for where different perspectives on end-of-life issues can be discussed, facts gathered, ethical dilemmas analyzed, an open agenda. And during this day, we welcome suggestions from you in the audience on how we should proceed. So, we hope that you will find this day informative, rewarding, that it will provoke new thinking. You are all very welcome to this day. And then it is an honor and a pleasure to introduce to you the first speaker today, Professor Wayne Sumner, Professor of Philosophy at University of Toronto. Much of Professor Sumner's scientific work has been in the areas of applied and normative ethics. He has written on a broad range of subjects such as abortion, happiness, welfare, and perhaps of particular relevance these days I noticed that he has also written on hate crimes. In 2011, he published a book entitled Assisted Death, a study in ethics and law, and it has been translated into Swedish, Dödshjälp, etiska och juridiska aspekter. Professor Sumner has contributed to the Swedish debate also in other ways. 3 years ago, he wrote an article in DN Debatt together with Torbjörn Tännsjö, who is here in the audience. In this article, they advocated more autonomy in end-of-life decisions, and that this autonomy should include the possibility of assisted death. Professor Smer played a key role as an expert witness in the Canadian High Court process that led to legal acceptance of physician-assisted dying in Canada, and today he will share the Canadian experiences with us. So, Professor Smer, please.